What is going on, everybody? Tyson with Faithfully Bearded here. I got David with me. I have Greg Boswell with me. So, welcome on in. If you guys don't know who Greg Boswell is, we're going to give him a second to introduce himself here, and we're just going to have a good old chat. We got an hour and a half to talk before we got to prepare for the next live stream. So, hope everybody's doing well today. We got Ken in here. We got Rick's in here. We got Emo, Matt, Swag, Pete, Mike, and Roger so far that I've seen comment. So welcome on in, guys. I'm sure some people will pile in here as we get going, but I want to introduce you guys to Greg Boswell here. He has a YouTube channel as well. He has, well, I'll let him describe it and see. Greg, first of all, how you doing today? Second of all, tell us a little bit about you and your YouTube channel here.
All right, well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's my first live stream ever, and I'm really excited about it because it's something I've kind of tossed around doing before, and I think maybe after today I might have to revisit this a little more often. But I've had my own YouTube channel for about 3 years. I had to look earlier just to see how long I've actually been posting videos. So for about 3 years, and I intermittently post beard videos. I wouldn't call my channel a primarily beard channel because I don't want to be a one-trick pony. In case in the event that I ever want to shave my beard for some reason, right? I still want to have something. But on top of that, I also post a lot of other what I would call discussion topical life meaning videos to kind of challenge the way an individual thinks and to hopefully help them on their journey through life also, because I like to teach, I like to talk, I like people, and I don't want all of this to go to waste. I don't look at my life as meaningless or purposeless, and I figure if there's anything I can do to help people with the experiences I've been through and can relay something to them that'll help them on their journey, then I've done my job. And so that's what my channel is all about. So I try to even in the videos that are not beard related, I still talk about products that guys can take advantage of, avail themselves of. And so I try to stay true to myself, because in the beginning, what this was all about for me is just leaving a legacy to my children, and so that if something should happen to me, they'll never have to wonder what Dad thinks on this issue or that topic, or they'll always know. They'll always know where I stood on something. So that's what it's been for me. I live in Central Florida. I live in Lakeland. It's between Tampa and Orlando. So I have Disney World on one side of me and Clearwater Beach on the other, and I love living here. I love living here because there's just so much to do, so much to see. And so beyond that, you guys can ask your questions, and I don't know. I guess I could rattle on, but I gotta give myself a breath and let you ask something.
See, that's what this channel is all about. Is anybody that watches this channel knows that you come in for a quick answer, and it might take 40 minutes to get the answer because I like to talk, and so that's why I put the time limit on right away. Of like, we got an hour and a half before getting ready to go for the next live stream. So Dave, do you want to kick us off with questions? Do you have any lined up? Or
I have a couple of good ones I've been thinking about. So for those of you that haven't watched Greg's channel, I guess I became a fan. Oh man, it had to be maybe right when I was first growing my beard. I caught one of the like how to maintain like a medium beard video that Greg had put out, and I just kind of rolled with it from there. And I really want to hit on the life lesson stuff recently, and we had talked a little bit about it, is the building your alliances wisely video, which was epic. I mean, everything Greg puts out, it's just stuff that hits home. You know what I mean? Like, we talk beard stuff, but like how it is right now, I brought this up on another interview. It's just good to have good, positive life stuff brought out. You know what I mean? So I think maybe we should kick it off with the astronaut story. I think that is an excellent place to begin because I've been chomping at the bit for that one.
Well, the astronaut story, that's one I love to tell. Because and I've been telling it all my life, but up until just a couple years ago, I started telling it differently, and because I found out something about it. Here's how it goes, and I'll try to not belabor it. So when I was a little boy, I grew up as a pastor's kid. Okay, so my father was a pastor of a Baptist church up in Monticello, Indiana, a quaint little town up there in northern Indiana, north of Indianapolis. And my dad would have these campaigns that he would run, to kind of, just the things that you would do in the church to breathe life into it every so often. You have certain themes that you would follow. And I don't know what his theme for this week was or this time of the year, but I remember him telling me, Greg, and I have 3 other brothers. Okay, mind you, I have 3 other brothers, and at that time I did not have a sister. And I'm the third child. And so, but I remember my dad telling me, he says, Greg, we're going to have an astronaut at church today. And being 5 or 6 years old, this was back in 1975, 1976, something like that. And so I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. But, what did I know about astronauts at 5 or 6 years old?
Right.
It symbolized a spirit of adventure. But beyond that, I just knew that they dressed up in these big suits and went out in space, It's too young to understand. But so the church that my dad pastored is Calvary Baptist Church. And right across the street from it was this massive high school named Twin Lakes High School. It's still there. And this high school is just so big because up there, like in my town where I live in right now in Lake, there's 4 really big high schools. Okay. But up there, you have people coming in from different counties all over the place to converge on one high school. So they had a massive field out there that the whole church left the building. We went across the street into this field, and we were supposed to look up into the sky. And so as we did this, I was with all the kids. The adults were over there, and we saw this man falling out of the sky. I remember looking for a while, like, what am I supposed to be looking at? And then, the figure gets closer and closer, and then you can see this black jumpsuit and the parachute opens up. And if I can remember correctly, and I may not be remembering this correctly, but it seems like I remember pink smoke coming out of his boot. It was coming from somewhere. I remember it being pink. And he was spiraling down, and eventually he landed on the field. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. I've never seen anybody fall out of the sky before, right? So we went back into church, and I guess this astronaut had come in and spoke to the congregation, which, being a child, I was not a part of. I was down with the children's groups and all that. And afterwards, we went home for lunch, and this astronaut came over to have lunch with us. And we had a picnic outside. Well, when we were done, we cleared the picnic table, and he wanted to teach me and my 2 older brothers how to do a parachute landing, tuck, and roll. And so this is kind of cool. Now I actually get to do something with this guy, right? So I'm going to have this astronaut teach me how to fall. And I remember him, I was just a tiny little kid, He picked me up, and he picked my brothers up. My brothers were probably like 10 and 11 years old. And they jump off the picnic table, and he'd tell them exactly how to land, how to roll. And I remember I was doing it wrong, because he'd tell me time and time again, no, this is, you're not doing it right. You got to roll towards your shoulder. I remember that vividly, like it was yesterday. I mean, he literally picked me up and put me back on the picnic table, and we'd do it over and over again. I remembered that for years. Okay. And so growing up as a boy, I was interested in gymnastics. I was interested in martial arts. And so there's always a point in which they have to teach you how to fall. I already knew how to fall. My story was an astronaut taught me how to fall, but I didn't know what I was talking about, So up until, just a couple years ago, maybe within the past 5 to 8 years ago, my oldest brother, who has a memory like a steel trap, mine like a steel trap, he had posted something on Facebook. These little questionnaires that people give to you, and they tell you copy and paste, put your own answers in, and
yeah.
So one of the questions had something to do with, have you ever met a celebrity? And my brother had put down, I've met Jamie Lee Curtis, Macaulay Culkin, Ed Harris when they filmed My Girl in Bartow, just down the road from us. And I knew about that. I knew about that. And then he said something about Buzz Aldrin, when he was a kid. And I started thinking about that. I'm thinking, now wait a minute, I've been an astronaut too, but no, that can't be right. Can't be right. So I messaged him. I said, Stratton, is that? No, that's not Buzz Aldrin that was at our house, was it? When we jumped off the picnic. Yeah, that was. I was like, I gotta double check this. I gotta confirm this twice. So I messaged my mom, and I said, Mom, are you sure that was Buzz Aldrin? She goes, yeah, it was Buzz Aldrin. And I was like, what? I can't believe that. I've been telling people this story for years, leaving out the name, not knowing. But I didn't put two and two together. It being 1975, 1976, it was still the nascent stages of the space program, right? But I didn't put that all together in my head. And so, for years I've been telling people, yeah, I had an astronaut in my house when I was a kid. He taught me how to do a parachute landing, tuck and roll, and I could have added that was Buzz Aldrin. I mean, that would have given me some cred, right?
Right.
So that would have gave you way more street cred. Yeah.
Right. So I just so now I tell the story differently, and it to me it's a real pleasure. It's almost like it has more value to me. Like there's more charm to it, because it's just kind of, it's information for me. It's just kind of stuck there and been unavailable to me. And now it's like, wow. So I actually messaged Buzz Aldrin through Instagram one time. I didn't get a reply, but he's older. He's probably got people that do all that for him, and everything. And I found out about this after he was on Dancing with the Stars. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I found out about this after the fact. But anyway, I guess so when we were kids, my dad had contacts of all kinds, and he used to be the assistant pastor at Indianapolis Baptist Temple, which was a huge church up there back in the early 70s. And I guess I've even met Colonel Sanders. Don't remember it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. And this church used to do these outdoor picnics every once in a while. I guess Kentucky Fried Chicken would provide all of that, and he would show up. But I don't remember that. But I'm only adding that because when my brother told me about Buzz Aldrin, he included that too. And just kind of it's just kind of from a bygone era, that my kids will never be able to say something like that. They've had astronauts at their school, and but now I can go, yeah. But I've had Buzz Aldrin at my house.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Buzz Lightyear,
Absolutely. So being a pastor, I didn't know that you were a pastor's kid, which is cool. Tyson and I both openly talk about our faith and all that stuff. So the YouTube channel, right? I know, and it's funny to me, like as I was kind of talking through the community to people, it's ironic because I guess in my mind, like you and George Bruno are in the same category to me. Like when my mind files stuff away, it's because both of you guys are, beards, men's life, just great advice. So when I know you said that your intent was to build a legacy for the kids, right? Which is awesome. Correct. I know we talked about that real briefly the other day. So how did the beard stuff become part of the YouTube?
Because of George Bruno.
I see.
Yeah, because of George Bruno. When I first started this, my first video, I think my first video had something to do with I was wishing my mother a happy birthday or something like that. I had no idea that it was going in the direction of beards at all. And then I somehow ran across George Bruno. Look, I'm probably doing what everybody else does, scanning for any kind of help for how to take care of your beard. And I just saw this guy with this big, white, majestic beard, right? I mean, who has a better beard than George Bruno?
I can't think of anybody.
Oh, my word. So anyway, I liked him for the same reason everybody else likes him. I liked his voice and I liked his beards without borders. And I miss that. I hope someday he brings that back. But anyway, that's how I ran. George Bruno is what really kind of got me onto the whole beard thing because I was already doing videos. I only had the intention of making 100 videos because I gave myself a challenge. My kids had talked me into going onto YouTube. They didn't talk about it all the time, but they had mentioned it from time to time. But Dad, you should start a YouTube channel. They seemingly don't remember any of this when I bring it back up to them. But when they were little kids, we used to have devotions with them. We used to tell these stories to illustrate a point. a biblical point, and they really liked that. And so they were like, Dad, you got to start. You should do this on YouTube. And so that's how I started. But then when I caught on to George Bruno, I was like, this is really good stuff. And I thought, when I started making a couple of bearded videos, I still don't think they're that good. I don't think they're that great. But apparently other people think differently, and I'm glad they do. I'm very thankful for that. And that's where I've got my following mostly.
Yeah, George, it's funny talking about George Bruno. Like, I would be lying severely if I didn't, or not lying. I'll get to that part in a second, but right before the live stream, we have George getting ready to, we have George getting ready to come on. And, for me, that is like we talked to a lot of people. Tyson and I have had Eric Banholes, we've had Spence, we have many more lined up. But when I think about like the beard YouTube world and where it began, for me, it goes back to George Bruno. I mean, granted, I've had, my first experience was obviously Scuba because he's easiest to find. Then Dan C, and then it progressed from there. Matt from OBS, Scott, Mo, who's in the room, Scott, Mo. But I would, right before this, we were trying to lock in the schedule with George because it's, how it is trying to get George pinned down to anything. But I'm on the phone with them, and I fanboyed completely out after the call, just kind of like chucked the phone, threw my arms up, and I look at my wife, and I'm like, I was just on the phone with the Sultan of Silver. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, for me, you guys are in that. I just wish more people would get into that, really to dig into our community. There's so much great bearded content that's not necessarily beard reviews. But that's just great. Bearded guys are great.
Tyson, I think everybody's probably run across Bruno at some point, and I mean, we don't have to make this stream about Bruno either, but and then there comes, from what we were kind of chatting yesterday, Greg, and we were testing this out to make sure it's your first live stream. So we were like, well, let's get on here and test this out, and we all hooked up yesterday for a little bit. And so how many videos are you officially like in? You've been doing it for what, 3-4 years?
3-4 years. How many do I have?
Yeah, like how many have you done? A rough idea? You didn't stop at 100 like you thought, right?
I keep on meaning to look, and I think it's under 200. Under 200.
Okay, so videos. what do you shoot on? What do you make your videos with?
I have a Samsung phone, and it's not real highfalutin. It's not high. It's not the best thing. I guess I could get an iPhone, but I just don't want to spend the money. But yeah, I just use a phone. That's how I do everything. And the reason why I haven't been in a hurry to get anything else is because I've listening to going back to George Bruno a little bit. He's done so much of his work from his phone, and I figure, hey, if I like this guy and he can do it, and I can do it too, and so that's what I've primarily been using. I don't have anything fancy. I do one take videos many times, but it's just mostly, but just make the answer short. I do it on my phone.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going. Is like I was 99.9% sure you did it on your phone, and it's like, so many. I get a lot of messages from people like, which camera should I get? Which camera should I get? I want to do a YouTube channel. It's like, just use the camera that you have. And then when you find that you stick with it and like it, slowly start working out from there. But the first, the most important part is just getting content up. And, coming from somebody that's been around for 3 or 4 years, I mean, think about the way technology was 3 or 4 years ago and how those videos probably were compared to now, just in the technological side of things. But also, I mean, the audio seems to be pretty good, and you're choosing, where to put the efforts into, maybe not dropping a ton of money into, this high tech equipment or anything like that, but more of the content, that you're putting out. And it goes to prove how you can reach people sitting in your bedroom or playing the piano or reading a book, and videoing it on your phone compared to the other side of the field, which I'm like extreme polar opposite of that of, like I have a room in my house dedicated to a studio, and I have every time a new camera comes out, I have a new camera because I'm a tech nerd, so it goes to show like there's so many different ways to reach people and so many ways to reach the point that you're trying to get to. And it's just how you go about it. But I had a point that I was trying to make, and through my rabbit trailing and that I hop along as I go there, I kind of forgot what my point was.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to Matt from No BS Beers Reviews?
I've never spoken to him on the phone or through video or anything like that, but we have messaged back and forth. And like many other guys, he's one of the nicest guys. Yeah. He's so friendly, and I've had nothing but congenial experience with him. He's a great guy.
Somebody said you guys look like your brother. You could be long lost brothers.
Yeah, that was me.
That might be true. We might have to do an ancestry. What do they call that? 23andMe. What do they call those things?
Ancestry.com, 23andMe. Yeah, there's two.
Might find that in there somewhere.
It's a possibility. It is a possibility.
Like I think you get you two next to each other, and you like have the same kind of voice and everything. It's crazy. Like you could go as Matt for Halloween, or since you're on here, we could say Matt could go as you for Halloween.
I have an older brother that he reminds me of.
Yeah, see, there we go.
Matt's definitely one of those guys. He's a very polarizing is the word I use when I talk about or to Matt. Like he has this way about him. You have that same way. Very, very good speaker. Very, pronounced. So you guys could be related. It's a possibility, man. You never know.
Well, one of the things I like about Matt is that he kind of does it the way a lot of us do. Where like we're doing it from our bedrooms, we're doing it from a room. We don't have high tech equipment, and I've really appreciated those kind of videos. I actually prefer the low production videos to the high production ones. You have all these videos on YouTube where you can tell people spend copious amounts of time editing and doing all sorts of things, and I like the everyday man taking you along on his experience. That has value to me, and it's really changed the way people view entertainment. I'd much rather any day. I think more people are watching. I don't know for a fact, but I have a feeling there's probably more people watching YouTube than there is watching television programs.
I would say that's a safe bet. Yeah.
And look at the production value. There's not a lot, and that's a good thing. I think. I think people are looking for something more authentic.
Yeah, sure.
Well, they want to know. I mean, I'm not speaking for the population, but for me personally, like I want to know who's behind it. That's like I can watch your channel and kind of get an idea maybe of what you're about, but actually sitting down and chatting, hearing somebody's story, hearing about them, getting to know them as a person, that's where you really find out what that person's about. So I think that's where like vlogs and things like that really come in for people. It kind of gives you the more, like when I do vlogs, I kind of throw professionalism out the window because it's like I'm just going to be me and record it and let people see it. Like I'm not trying to represent a company by doing a review or represent the brand or anything like that. It's like I'm trying to just let people see what I'm going through, whether it's replying to hate YouTube comments or doctor stuff. Like they want to see that emotion and how you actually feel, and not the mask that you can put on just by getting on and shooting a 5-minute video real quick.
Sure.
I mean, that's how I think about it anyway. But
I'm right alongside with you.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, I was saying that I'm with you on that. I know exactly how you feel. I think the same way.
I almost feel like looking back, I remember 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of like reality TV going on. People wanted to connect on that level, see how the other side lived or whatever it may be. And now it almost seems like YouTube has filled that void of
Yeah.
all of the open platforms where people can just share everyday life, and that's an interesting. People complain about technology all the time. Like, I have a friend that's, hey, Daniel, the Bearded Apprentice, what's up? I have a friend that's an older guy, and he's like, I don't understand the technology. You guys are always on your phones. And it's just like, this is the first time in the world history that the world is all connected, which is the plus side of technology. So I could watch some guy's everyday life over in Indonesia or China somewhere, if that's how I feel. I think that's definitely a really cool thought process. This is the new reality TV.
Like I was actually going through like my parents' garage the other day, and as like in there was like books upon books upon books, and not books you would read. It was like the Fix-It Man's book. It was all about like how to repair something in your vehicle or your house and everything. And I'm just like, to me, that stuff doesn't make sense. It doesn't click of like, why do we have this book? Because when I started getting old enough to get into that, it was you went to Google, and that's how it is now. Like even my parents in their 60s they are going to Google for things now at this point. And you can go there or YouTube. I mean, Google owns YouTube. So it's like you just find it online and it walks you right through how to do it. You don't have to sit and read. And
Right.
The other day, I mean, it just kind of hits home when you watch your kids. Like I'm sitting here live streaming the other day, and like Aubrey texts me and says she's shopping. Like she texts me from downstairs telling me she's shopping, sends me a picture on my phone. She screenshotted what she's shopping for and sent it to me. I'm like, how do you even learn to do that? Like I've never taught you this. But they're growing up in this age of technology, and they use this stuff at school, But here's a question for you, Greg. This actually goes with the question that I had earlier. So growing up as like a pastor's son, it seems to a lot of people I know that grew up in that lifestyle have a lot of pressure to go do that same thing or to preach or anything along those lines. What was your route growing up? And the question in the comments is, what do you do for a living now?
Well, let me work backwards. What I do for a living now is I work for Lakeland Electric. It's a utilities company here in Lakeland, Florida, with a very wide customer base, and so yeah, it's something I've been doing for a little over 20 years. I'm really thankful to be working where I'm at, because we're always deemed essential, or we end up being first responders after hurricanes and stuff like this, and so I never have to worry about having a job, and it's something that's valuable to me. Growing up in a pastor's home, the pressure. I wonder if he means, did I feel the pressure to become a pastor? That's kind of the way it sounded, right? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I felt no pressure at all. I don't think my dad would have ever. I don't remember. My dad never tried to get us to do that. And there were times on and off throughout my life I thought about doing that, but it was pretty much a turnoff to me, for the most part, because you always want to do your own thing. You have your own ideas. You might want to be an astronaut, right?
Yeah.
Or you might want to be a police officer.
You're going to have one in your house.
Right. Exactly. Right. So what I wanted to be more than anything else growing up was a Hollywood stuntman. But because I didn't live in the age of information like you have now, how was I going to get any information? I mean, I tried, but I couldn't. But as you get to be older, and dreams kind of fade into the background, and you have to get real. You have to figure out a way to support yourself. You take on jobs and whatnot, and you get married. You have kids, and you deal with the struggle that everyone else does. And then I went back to my roots, which was I'd always go back to anytime I was going through a life crisis, I'd always go back to my Bible. And that would always steady me. That was my rock, and then during times like that, when you go through something like that, you think, I could really help somebody with how this helped me. I don't want to keep it to myself. And those, if anything, it was during those times that I actually considered going into the ministry. Well, at this point, and I've taught classes in church before, but to be honest with you, I would much rather do this on YouTube. I'll reach far more people on YouTube than I will in the church. Now, granted, I don't quote scripture and whatnot. Every occasionally I'll bring something out, but you know, I look at my YouTube channel as a ministry of sorts. You know, it's a way of everybody has anybody that is trying to contribute something, anybody that's trying to reach out to other people. You have a ministry, regardless of what you believe. You are ministering to others. So that's what this has turned into for me. So I'm a lot like my dad, and personality wise, and so in that way the apple didn't fall far from the tree. You know, I used to go with him to a lot of places that he would speak, and accompany him. So we were real close. So that it did make an impression on me. It did influence me, but this is just how it manifested itself at this point in the game.
I think you said two words in there that are just kind of like trigger words, and it's ministry and influence. And you said ministering, you don't have to be in a church to minister. You don't have to be doing anything in particularly to be ministering. If you're influencing anybody, you're ministering to them. So you could be having a ministry on beards, you know, or reading, right, or fixing cars or whatever it is. If you're putting out content and you're talking to somebody, you're ministering to them about that particular topic. And that's kind of the way I looked at it too, is I don't know the Bible in and out. I don't know all the verses. I don't necessarily know what they all mean, but if there's an opportunity to get on a live feed or put out a video where 1 billion people could watch it. I mean, there's so many people in this world that have access to YouTube. You have an opportunity to impact one person's life. And if making that short little video impacts one person's life, it's very, very valuable to anybody. So I think I kind of tie ministering with influence together, you know. Are you a Chiefs fan?
Am I a Chiefs fan?
Yeah.
You know, did this question come up for somebody on the last one with Spence?
Probably.
He's a Chief.
It's a right.
It just sounds to me like someone's pushing really hard to get Chiefs fan out of somebody. Not particularly. I like football, but I'm not. I can't say I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm not. You know, the closest team we have here in Lakeland is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if anybody's wondering if I have to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, oh man, that's a hard sell, man. I mean, it's tough because they make it hard. They make it hard to be a fan sometimes. You know,
they're gonna have.
Maybe I'm not a good fan.
I mean,
that's what it is.
Maybe you're just not a diehard. Like, yeah, there we go. But so you have how many kids?
4.
Okay, so between your job and your kids, what does Greg like to do in your free time? You got the 4 kids, your job. Well, you got some free time. What are you doing?
Apparently too much. If you ask my wife, I probably do too much. I love to read, but I try to fit those in during times, and it's not really getting in the way of anything else. I love to play the piano, and so that's where I probably spend more time doing that than anything else. Now, on the weekends, when I don't have to get up at any particular time the next day, I do like playing video games. You know, nice. So yeah, I don't play a lot of them. The one I'm really hooked on right now, I've been playing forever, is Sniper Elite 4. I played that game over and over again so many times that it just, you know, I keep trying to finish the missions faster. And that's what I do. You know, reading and playing the game.
So another question out of the chat: favorite books?
Oh, that's a good one. But, well, you know, of course, you have your different genres. You have history, you have biographies, fiction. I will say that let me start off with favorite writer first. My favorite writer is W. Somerset Maugham, because anything he wrote is just superb. If you want to find good writing, read W. Somerset Maugham. My favorite work of nonfiction is a book called South: The Endurance Expedition. It's pretty much a journal of Ernest Shackleton's experience on his second Antarctic expedition down. And I think it was in 1914, something like that. And his ship, the Endurance, was crushed in the ice, and he helped keep his men alive. There was I think around 22 men. He helped keep his men alive for nearly 2 years during a time when there was no GPS, there was no cell phones, or nothing, and they had to figure out a way to survive. And it's one of the greatest stories of survival. He, for all intents and purposes, he failed as a leader, but yet he is the quintessential leader. And the book reads so well. His descriptions of all the accounts are so good that I actually feel cold when I read it. I've read it twice. It's a thick book, and it's a fantastic read. In fact, if you look behind me over there,
yep,
on the wall in the frame is it says "Through endurance we conquer." That was the motto that was on his family coat of arms. It was in Latin, of course, but "Through endurance we conquer" is that what was emblazoned on the coat of arms, and it's been a motto that I've embraced for myself because as a direct result of that book. And it's such an impressive book. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens is a fantastic piece of literature. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Phenomenal
book.
David Copperfield is so good.
What about this? This is so I spent a lot of time reading older literature, what I consider older, and I got into this whole groove of older Russian literature, especially kind of when Russia was going through their thing. Like for me, when I think of the quintessential book that I think everyone should read, it's The Brothers Karamazov. That is probably it's, I don't know if you haven't read it. I mean, it's one of those ones that you really have to have time to pick it apart. It has, have you ever read it?
No, I know Dostoevsky wrote it. I tried to read The Idiot. But I had a hard time because the Russian names are so hard for me to figure out how to read that I actually end up becoming so distracted by it. But, apparently Dostoevsky is the man when it comes to literature. And I need to pick it back up. But I've heard that that's a tremendously good read.
It is.
I'm interested in knowing what the guys who are watching, what some of their favorite reads are, because I could always use some good suggestions. So if they would put that in the live chat, I would appreciate it.
What about Metamorphosis? The Metamorphosis. Have you ever read that? It's a shorter book.
Yeah.
I think
is it science fiction?
No, it's actually a book with absolutely no point. Like The Trial is another one of those books that's just like you never know what the guy was in jail for. But just the way the story was built. There's just certain books that I'm like, that's a great book. You don't really need to know that one.
There's just a ton of books that I've got that that I could make a list of. I wish I would have before I came on. Knowing this might have come up, but The Making of an American was a really good one about Jacob. I think it's written by Jacob Riis. He helped tear down the slums of New York in the early 1900s. Theodore Roosevelt, and what an inspiring book. I think he had another book called How the Other Half Lives. I haven't read that, but The Making of an American was really, really good.
I think I sometimes feel like I'm stuck in a different era. I'll tell you what gets me going is like, and this circles back around to being able to get on YouTube and social media or wherever you may find it. What gets me is like the Iron Curtain Churchill speech. Like if I ever want to get myself rolling, that's what I'll look up on. It's weird, but just to hear those guys talk, like it's so. I watched a thing called Guess My Life or some really old, like one of the original game shows, and they had a guy on there that was in the theater when Lincoln got shot. Like that was his. Like, it's called Guess My Secret or something like that. But
I saw that.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, to think that you could actually lay eyes on someone who was there.
Yeah, it's nuts. But that's another cool thing. Like when we talk about YouTube, like however many years from now, go forward, people will be able to look back, and even things like the COVID quarantine, those are going to be defining moments for a lot of people. So it's an interesting time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're right about that time, that period of time in history. The writers and people like Winston Churchill, who knew how to he was a wordsmith, and he knew how to form a sentence. You know, the writers and the people back then, they had such a way of speaking that you just don't hear anymore. You don't see them. Yeah.
So as a non-book reader, I have trouble reading, and not like physically. It's like my mind just wanders. Like my eyes are reading the word. I just can't shut my brain off enough to actually like sink into stories. And I haven't found many books that allow me to do it. So I just don't read very often unless it's like something super interesting. I'm more like, give me like a 1-page or 2-pager, like something like on forums, like then I can get into it. But so as a non-book reader, I don't see how book readers, and I'm categorizing you guys as book readers, I don't see how or where you find the time to sit down and read, because I'm just like, I'm blowing my mind of how I even keep up. Like I couldn't imagine the way my life is now of finding time to sit down, pick up a book, and just shut the world off, because I feel like we're in such a hectic, busy world with a phone that can go off at any time, and anything like that there's so many distractions. How do you guys find time, or I guess for Greg first, like how do you find time to just relax, shut everything off, and read? And is that like your meditation type thing? Is that what it kind of does for you?
Yeah, it does. What the bulk of my reading does, the heaviest part of my reading I do during lunchtime. And I prefer, I know some guys that cannot eat lunch by themselves. I don't understand that. I prefer to eat lunch by myself so I can read. And I'm just hoping that having a book in front of me makes people realize they probably shouldn't be talking to me. But that's where I get the bulk of my reading. That gives me about an hour to do it. And then, I'll keep one around. For those moments when maybe my wife and my daughters are watching something on TV that I don't want to watch. I'll read instead. If I can't play the piano, I'll read. Now, I'll give you. I'm going to say this as though you've said this because you would like to read. Here, and I think I've actually made a video about this one time. There's a book I read called A Path Between the Seas. I think it's A Path Between the Seas, written by David McCullough. Fantastic book. I mean, it's really, really good. Anyway, there's I guess down in Panama, it's about the building of the Panama Canal. And down in Panama, there was a real problem with yellow fever. Okay. And so they actually, that was actually eradicated during that time. There was a doctor down there who they hired to go down there and figure out a way just to eradicate yellow fever, and he accomplished it. But anyway, the reason I bring him up is because the notable thing about him that I never forgot was that he was a prolific reader. He had a lifetime habit of reading 3 different books every day of different kinds. And he would take 20 minutes. He'd take a strict 20 minutes per book, and he put them down. And he did that his entire life. Can you imagine if you did that, how many books you'd get read throughout your life, or how much, information you would absorb? And that's a good method, because that way you're not over investing yourself. You're not over committing.
Yeah, I kind of took. Yeah, David, go ahead. When do you find time to read?
I mean, I do most of my reading at work. Like I have one of those jobs where, I mean, Tyson, we talk on the phone all the time when I'm at work, but I have one of those jobs where I'm just kind of in limbo. Like if something's not going on at that exact moment. And I do a lot of reading on the internet. I think that is one of the greatest uses that the internet has ever been able to do, is just to download a whole book and read through it. But
Yeah.
I think reading for me, it's like, I don't know, like not to get too far into this isn't about me, but not to get too far into it. Like I didn't have, the best childhood. So, I grew up really poor and we didn't have cable TV. So books, I'd go to school and, they had you do things like book reports back when I was in school. And I don't know, it just caught on. Like I can be anywhere. Like if I don't like my situation and it's out of my control, even as an adult, I can just grab a book, and it disengages me from whatever is like ruling my mind. And I think the Bible's a great example of that as well. Like, I think it's probably one of the most read books in the world, if that's a safe jaunt. Definitely probably the most published. I think it is, definitely. But think about that. Like just to be able to sit down and read words written by someone that thousands of years ago, that pretty much hit on the same problems we have. Like gossip, people suck sometimes. Sometimes you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. If anybody that hasn't read the Bible is wondering, none of that is in there. But
you better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah,
Page 1,000.
Thou shalt check yourself before you wreck yourself. Absolutely. But yeah. So for me, that's what it is. And I have a younger daughter. My older daughter, I'm very blessed that she loves books. She's a reader. My younger daughter, I think that's going to be one of the things that I can give to her that will let her, read what I've read, or if not something else, but just to take her to that level, like a different place or a different time. Or I'm just a nerd, dude. I just read and I'm just a nerd. That's just all there is to it.
See, and I think most of my reading comes, from first thing in the morning, devotional. I make sure to try to get a devotional in every day, but that's like the extent of how long I can read and actually pay attention. Like a 2-pager, something like that is kind of where I'm at. But I think about like growing up, and it was like, what were my like parents' routines when I grow up? Is like either read the newspaper in the morning to catch up on news, or turn the TV on to watch the news channel. And then at night, it was we watched the news before we go to bed, because that was the way they got their weather. That was the way they knew what was going on in the world around them. So we don't necessarily do that at this day and age. I mean, I kind of like to watch the local news, but, Google has kind of just solved so much of that to where I think we consume a lot of material. We just don't sit down on the couch and check out from things to consume the material. And I think that could be a bad thing. I don't know that it's necessarily good. We're not getting our minds off of things, like sitting down, relaxing, and just diving into this book and what it's saying. We're more like, oh, I got a notification that it's going to be 87 degrees tomorrow. Cool. Now I know the weather for tomorrow. But we're not, with getting that knowledge of the weather and not watching the news, we're not seeing what's going on in our local community as much, or what's going on. I mean, we see world stuff and things like that. But with that goes, I've learned so many things just from diving into reading online, or a suggested article pops up to me that sounds good and I read it, that, I mean, I definitely wouldn't change the way things are. I honestly, I think the last book I ever read was like from cover to back would have been like To Kill a Mockingbird in school. In school, probably. But with that being said, I love to write. I can sit down, I can grab a notebook and sit down, and I can write cover to back and fill it up just with anything. I could write a story. I've actually won a couple competitions, like got awards for poems that I've written. Not much anymore, but like when I was in high school, I loved writing, and I still do, but I think I kind of transitioned writing into videoing, of like getting your stuff out through words, speaking, rather than writing. But I don't like public speaking. So there's a lot of comments that I've seen kind of rolling through about, being a pastor or a teacher. Like, how does speaking publicly resonate with you? Are you like a nervous type speaking publicly, or do you feel like there's things that need to be heard and you can minister that out? You can have your voice heard. Like, how do you look at those types of things?
Well, they say that the fear of public speaking is greater than the fear of death for a lot of people, right? Um, but I actually enjoy it. But there's conditions to that. Now I've done quite a bit of public speaking, but not on a grand scale, like in front of thousands of people, which I wouldn't mind doing. But I do have some degree of anxiety about it if I'm not prepared to do it. And I do prefer public speaking. I do enjoy getting up in front of people and making my case to a bunch of different, to a large number of people at one time, to reach the most as you can. But yeah, I typically don't have a problem with, years ago I read Dale Carnegie's books. I don't know if you're familiar with his name, are you?
I'm not.
Okay, well, Dale Carnegie wrote I think his most popular book was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think everybody should read it. And he also had a few other ones, like How to Develop Confidence in Public Speaking, Self-Confidence in Public Speaking. I read that too. So I think reading stuff like that helped. I've listened to my dad over the years. I kind of know how he formulates his sermons and how he makes his points. So I've had examples before. I've had an example before me most of my life, and so it's something I enjoy. I hope I'm answering the question right, but I actually enjoy public speaking. I guess when I said there's conditions to it, when the condition for me is growing up in school, you might have opportunities where you can speak in public, but they tell you what you have to say, right? Mm-hmm. You might go work for a corporation who wants you to be a mouthpiece for them, okay? But you have to say what they want you to say, right? I don't like that, and I because there's no feeling to it. There's no, I just don't. There's no passion in it whatsoever. But when I can say something that comes from the heart and I really mean it, and I feel like it's really going to help other people, I have no problem whatsoever.
What about like Ben Shapiro? You ever watch Ben Shapiro?
Occasionally, yes.
That guy, when it's like public speaking, you want to talk about somebody that's willing to say what's unpopular. That guy, he's a beast of a debater. Beast.
He thinks so fast. Yeah. I don't understand how he can rattle things. I mean, I guess you have to know your material so well. That guy is so quick and so sharp. I wouldn't want to mess with him. I wouldn't want to be on the other end.
I've seen him destroy people, and just be polite about it. He's just one of the. Yeah, you're right. He thinks very quickly on his feet. By the way, I have to ask because he's in the room. Greg, would you give a birthday shout out to our friend John, aka the Flying Beardsman?
Oh, absolutely, yeah! Happy birthday, John. I hope your day is going well. I hope all your wildest dreams come true.
John is one of the best interviewers in the game. He's amazing with interviewing.
That's actually what I was going to say. That's another one I'd like to see. I know you're new to the live streams, but I'd love to see you and John sit down and knock out an interview. John, Tyson, I, and another guy named Ken are we have our group reviews, which is the 4 Beardsmen. But yeah, he is definitely one of the best interviewers I've ever seen. I think you guys would get it up very well.
Yeah, I need to look him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to look him up to watch him.
I think back to talking about speaking in general. I think in my mind, there's a difference between speaking and lecturing, right? Lecturing is, here's your topic, go talk about it. Speaking is, in my mind, okay, this is what I want to talk to you about. So with my job, if they tell me to go out there and give a presentation or a lecture on a certain topic, I don't look forward to it because it's I'm confined to this box of this is what I have to talk about. And I got to come up with all this information and talk so long about this particular thing. And if it doesn't have my interest, I can't speak on it. I don't care. It's not interesting to me. But if I have an open book, actually my job is leadership, right? So if I can go take groups of people or people in general and motivate them or lead them the way that I want to, or the way that I feel I can get through to that person, that's more impactful to me, because a lecture is, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to come at you my way, and you have to figure it out. Leadership is, I need to figure out who you are and how you understand things, and then speak to you in that context, so that way you get it. And that's the part that I particularly love about my job, is I have a team of people, and it's, how do I get through to each and every one of them to accomplish the same goal, but we all get there different ways. So I think, like, I don't have a problem with speaking, but lecturing, where I'm put in a box of one topic and I just have to go out and do it, like, that's the part that I don't necessarily like.
Well, how can you sell something to somebody? I'm not talking about necessarily actual sales, but how can you sell what you're trying to say to somebody if you don't feel anything about it? Because you have to be somewhat indifferent, and people know, they know that. I was just telling my son yesterday, when people are interested in what you're doing, it's because they're buying into you as an individual. You might be doing the same thing everybody else is doing, but they pick you. Why do they pick you? Because, well, they like you. Now, the people will buy good, and they will buy bad, but they will not buy indifferent. And so it's important that there's some measure of conviction behind what you're doing. But what do you do, Tyson, anyway? I really don't know.
I have 10 stores throughout the state underneath me, with 2 to 4 employees at each store. So my job is to make sure that those stores are operating correctly, training, coaching, making sure that they're doing their jobs ideally and hitting their sales numbers. I'm in sales. So,
okay.
So, I mean, to get them motivated to want, you can go out there and telling everybody, like, you need to be at this percentage of sales. And you mentioned it. It's sales, right? Like, you need to be here. Some people are motivated of, my boss is telling me to go get to this position, and I'm going to go do that because I'm fired up to be successful, or I'm fired up to do what my boss or my person wants me to do. Some people don't care. So you have to get through to them. You have to find what motivates them and talk to them in a language that they understand, like, what drives you to get up every day? Why do you come to work? I mean, I understand the main reason everybody comes to work is they need to earn money, but what is your driving factor? What do you have going on at home that you need that money? Do you have kids, and then putting it to them, I call it the whiff 'em, like, what's in it for me? And I think that's why people watch any kind of content, is like, what is in it for me when I click to watch this video? There's got to be an answer to something that we have. And like you said, good or bad sells. Indifference doesn't necessarily. And if we relate that to the community we're in of beard products, if I were to come on and just be like, hey, here's this beard oil here. I don't know. It's all right. It's okay. There's my review. Try it if you want. It's okay. But if I come out like, this is the best thing ever, like, people are going to go buy it. If I come out and say, don't buy this, this is garbage, people are still going to go buy it because they're going to be interested to see if it's really garbage or what's garbage about it.
They want to prove you wrong.
Yeah. Like, I think John is saying whiskey is good. Okay. Gotcha. And keep the whiskey flowing. Good job, John. But
no, he's talking about what I said. John's replying to when I said I think Greg and John should hook up and do an interview. He's saying my door's always open and the whiskey's always flowing.
Okay. He likes to drink a whiskey while he does interviews.
That's
or multiple. Kind of his thing. Or multiple, yeah.
And David, what kind of work do you do?
I am the director of sales for a promotional company. We do swag for businesses nationwide. So I go from hiring, training, all done in-house, promoting, firing, all the joys of upper management.
Okay.
So here's a question for David. What would you do if you had to fire your wife?
Okay, so I'm going to let you in on a secret. This is insider trading information right here. My wife worked for me at one point. But to answer that question before I get into this, I have fired my little brother I have fired my best friend. I have fired my nephew.
So what they say about you is true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a jerk. But not really. You know, when you think about it, and for a long time, the owners of the company who I work with directly, like I am their right hand at my job. I run their business for them is the best way I can put what I do. They had no idea that my wife and I were married. They found out through a Facebook post that someone had sent them to try and get me into trouble. And when they brought it to me in a meeting, they said, you know, you have mastered the art of keeping your personal life personal. I said, and I want to take it a little bit farther. If she wasn't doing her job at optimal levels, I would not have a problem firing her. It's just business. You know what I mean? Like when I'm trusted to ensure that the business is running at its highest level possible, it's just it's not a hard decision. It's never personal. It's just business.
Go Chiefs. That's correct. Yes, Muhammad, go Chiefs.
Mohammed, nice.
I've been in the corporate world for 10 years, and firing people is never fun. But with that being said, it goes back to the leadership. Like if somebody is not doing their job correctly, you got to dig out to the bottom of why are they not doing their job correctly? Is it their leadership, which could be you? Or is it their lack of understanding? And so I've always had the mindset of like either coach people up or coach them out. And when I talk about that is you're either going to coach them up and get them to understand the job and put it in a term that they can understand so they can accomplish the job successfully, or coach them out. And that doesn't mean like try to get rid of them. It means helping them understand that maybe they're not getting this and this job isn't for them. You know, like you want whatever happens, you want the person to either understand. You don't want somebody thinking like I'm amazing at this job, but they're not. You want to either make them better or get them to understand that you're not figuring this out. This might not be the position for you. And let's find the right position for you. I've taken people who thought they were the best salespeople in the world and pushed them into a different position within my store to not being in sales. And they took off. They flew like, oh, you're better at inventory than you are at sales. Like sometimes it just takes putting people to get the missing pieces together. And the missing pieces might just be, I'm doing the wrong thing that I'm comfortable with. The missing piece might be a team member. The missing piece could be so many different things. And I think a lot of times we're so inapt to just get rid of somebody or fire them because the job. I'm like, that's where it's like, well, it's just business. It's just business. And it's like, it's just business, but your business could still be successful with this person. They just might be in the wrong role or not understanding something correctly. And then sometimes it's probably the case where somebody does need to be fired, but
that's what happened with my wife. She actually works. She's like the office manager now. Like I stay on the sales floor and she's excelled greatly at that. But what she does now is a much better fit than what we were doing on the sales floor. Sales isn't for everybody, you know?
I wonder if I could pull that off with my wife. If she's not operating at optimal level, then maybe I could fire her. I might run that by her to see if she's willing to go along with that.
The problem with that on my end,
you could just be like, you know, and this is going to be just a like preface it. Like I have a very dry sense of humor, so this is all a joke. But you know, you could be like, you know, Sheldon. Those dishes just quite aren't clean enough. Like we might need to find a different role for you and let the kids step up into the dishwashing, and you know, you can find a different role around here. Or maybe I just need to get a little bit harder on you. Like let's write up a little plan here of how you could get better at doing the dishes.
Yeah, my wife's a redhead. My wife is a redhead and has got a redhead temper. That would go over poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stereotype is true, isn't it?
It is more than true.
So Greg, I've heard you talk. You've mentioned a couple times now my daughters. So are all four of your kids girls?
No, I have two. I have two boys and two girls. My oldest one is a girl, and she is 20 years old. I have a 19-year-old son, and then I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old boy. So it went girl, boy, girl, boy. I feel lucky. I feel like I hit the lottery. If I'm going to have four kids and have two of each, I mean, how much better does it get than that?
It's true.
Yeah. They're great kids. I mean, but I'm kind of biased, so
Yeah.
Right. So here's an interesting
What's going on, Colin? Thanks for coming in, buddy. I'll get you that link soon too.
Somebody that the three of us had talked about yesterday in our test chat here is Fable Beard Co. So Lo, we're talking about bringing it back to a little bit of beard stuff for the guys in the chat. So what are some of the companies that you've thoroughly enjoyed? I know you said you haven't tried Fable yet. I actually talked to Colin. I'd love to see what you think of his stuff. Great, awesome products. But what are some of the products you've enjoyed in your beard throughout your journey?
Yeah, you're right about Fable. There's so much chatter about them that I've got to try them because there's got to be something to it.
Well, the best scent in the world, the best false scent, is launching tonight.
The Savior.
Yeah, and it's called The Savior. It might have my ugly face on it, but it comes out. Well, it's actually live on the website right now, but we'll be live streaming it a little bit later.
Okay. I need to look into that. And there's so many different kinds out there. We talked about that yesterday. There's so many different kinds out there, and to be quite honest with you, a great number of them are really good. Okay, and so it's really hard to. I'd say I enjoy Artiest Man a lot. I made that very known on my channel. In fact, today I'm wearing their I got it right here. Their 3-wood beard oil. Have you tried that? Have you tried their 3-wood? That is amazing. Then I got their beard butter. I'm using their beard butter in my beard. I don't have any balm in it. Yeah, that's my favorite right now with them. And I like Artiest Man a lot because first of all, their products are just top grade. Okay, but they're really good to deal with. I look at the reviews. I hear people talking to me about how they, in trying to work with them. I don't hear anything negative. So it's more than just the product itself. It also has to do with the company, the people itself too. That's why I like them so much. I like Husky Beard. Talked about them. I like them a lot. Bossman brand is pretty cool because they do things a little bit different. With the beard jelly, they actually have pomade for the beard, which I don't think a lot of people would think of pomade as going into beards, but they actually make one with the beards pretty good.
It's a decent product, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and their fortified conditioner is really good.
We were talking about the Royal Oud scent, huh?
Yeah, it's really good.
It is.
And their co-lotion is the bomb. I mean, if you haven't tried their co-lotion, you need to order that and get it for yourself because
the co-lotion is the best product they have in my mind.
It's really good. And then I like Mad Viking has some pretty good stuff. I haven't tried a lot of their stuff, but the things I have tried are really good. I like the Beard Struggle oils and balms. I've never tried. I don't think anything else of theirs. I know they get some bad press, but if you and I know exactly what they're talking about, but I've never. I think it's in direct reference to their heated beard brush. I don't use a heated beard brush. I don't like the way they look. I don't like what they do to the beard. That's just my personal opinion. But that's me using it on me too. But as far as their oil and their balm goes, man, they're amazing. They're amazing. And I was just thinking about this yesterday because I was in Target. There's a brand called Pacino's. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, Pacino's, they're not a beard company, but they actually have a beard oil. And when I was at Target yesterday, they didn't have it on the shelf. They make some of the smoothest, nicest, silkiest beard oil I've ever had. But I've never found a balm for it. So I wouldn't buy it again.
I've seen some really interesting ones in Target that just blew my mind.
Well, Goodfellow, the Goodfellow Company, which is a Target-owned brand, they're actually pretty good. And the product developer for their beard products actually contacted me, and because she saw my review on them, and my review was basically they're really good. They're surprisingly really good, but they haven't rounded off their products. Like they've got 3 beard oils and 1 balm. you know, and they need to have matching balms for everything. They have these colognes that match a few of their oils, but they don't have. I don't know. It's really confusing to me how they've done it. And so she said, "Well, what would we have to do to make this your go-to product? Is it round everything out? You know, have matching products. You know, that's what they need to do. And but they're really good too. I don't prefer buying from big box stores so much as I like supporting the guys out there like that we talk about on our channels.
Yeah, definitely. I think I saw like a mint flavor from that Target brand. They have like an interesting something with mint in it.
Moroccan mint and cedar.
Yeah. It just sounds
that's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Now, did you guys watch the UFC last night?
I did not.
Yes.
What did you think, Tyson?
I thought, I'm just going to talk, okay, so what's his face? The guy that broke his foot. I'm drawing a blank at his name, but that's like the second time that's happened to him. Poor kid. Like, he's a pretty good fighter.
Oh, he's really good.
The second time that he's like hurt his leg like that while in a fight. But it is what it is. I thought the main event, I was really, really pulling for DC. I thought, he's such an amazing like human being, and he's got such a historic, thing about him. I mean, he's lost twice to John Jones, which, John Jones popped all the time. So it's like kind of asterisk losses. And then he beat Stipe and is like, well, let's do a rematch. Stipe beats him, but he was really controlling that fight. And then last night, honestly, if the judges would have went the other way, I don't think anybody would have said a thing. It was a close fight. I think the determining factor was Stipe almost had him out at the end of the second round. But other than that, the only clear round was round 3 that Stipe won that round. I think the other round 2, 4, and 5 could have gone either way. I feel like. So I wouldn't have been disappointed either way, but I really wanted DC to win.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who I wanted to win, but I think I was going more for DC than I was Stipe.
What happened to Tyson? So are you like an avid fight watcher, Greg?
Yes. Yeah. Me and my son and I, we watch them every time they're on. I have my 19-year-old son's been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 8 to 9 years. So he's really up on all the lingo. He knows everybody. I mean, not knows them personally, but he knows everything that's going on. He can quote names and stats and all that. And so he's more into it than I am. I got him into it, but yeah, we enjoy it every time it's on.
So I have had this ongoing conversation with Mike Oslowski, who is, in my generation, he was one of the Red Power Rangers. He was also in a movie called Three Ninjas, I think was the name of the movie. Had like Hulk Hogan in it, maybe. So I would love, and Mike, if you're watching this, I would love to get in the ring with him. I want to fight the Red Power Ranger. Just, and he, by the way, he's an MMA champion and one of the probably most prominent martial artists around right now. But I'm willing. So, Mike, whenever you're ready, you just DM me back.
Well, that does sound familiar, vaguely familiar. Did you ever do any martial arts at all, David?
I did. Yeah,
my brother and I. He's not my real brother, but I grew up with him. I mean, we're closer than him. My real brother and I are. But we had done a lot of Muay Thai kickboxing when we were younger. I did a lot of judo. I trained judo under an Olympic gold medalist. Was supposed to go into the Olympic program, but ended up breaking my knee, shattering my knee. So, but never. Yeah, but I mean, even if he whoops me, like, what better way to go out than like I got knocked out by the Red Power Ranger? You know what I mean? Like I would be good with that for the rest of my life. Pink Power Ranger, doesn't matter. I fought a Power Ranger.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I can see your point. I can definitely see your point there. Well, next week the card's not real It's not a real great card next week. I think Uriah Hall was supposed to fight Yoel Romero, but Yoel's out. So he's Hall's scheduled to fight somebody else. And then Frankie Edgar is fighting. I'm a real big fan of his. St. Preux, he's fighting. Have you guys ever been to a UFC event?
I have not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They did one in they did like a fight night in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is the closest they've ever been to me. So it's definitely different in person, but I am such an event person on TV because I'm so into the commentary, like even NFL. Like I would rather watch NFL on TV than in person because
I agree.
For me, the experience is seeing exactly what's going on and hearing like the commentary and the other people, what they're talking about, like going there and there's like nothing. You're just watching everything until it's over, like nobody's talking. And, I don't get into like the hanging out with buddies and drinking thing. I think a lot of people go for that experience of like out with the boys and get into it with their friends. And I think I'd rather just sit at home with my kid and like she gets into it, and walking around the house and stuff. And so I like to do it better at home, but it sounds a lot more fierce in person. But now with no crowd, like you hear it just as like last night, you were hearing them when they were up against the cage. You could hear their back like on the leather of the cage pad. Like you could hear it. And it's like that's never anything you hear when there is when there's a crowd there because you hear the cheering and all that stuff, So it's almost like being there now with no crowd.
Yeah, it's strange. It really does change the whole atmosphere. Even while watching on TV, I'd much prefer a crowd being there so I could hear them because it does something.
Yeah, and for me, like I think whoever this is my opinion. You can fight me if you want. Like Mike Goldberg was the best announcer for getting people excited. Like he could get me excited on sitting at home on the couch watching TV. Him and Rogan were the dynamic duo. It was epic, and I almost now prefer watching him over UFC. I prefer now I'm drawing a blank again. See what happens when I get put on the spot. What?
Is he on Bellator now?
Yeah, Bellator. I almost prefer watching Bellator. They got some good guys over there, and you got some guys that didn't cut it in the UFC, but they're over there, tearing it up and really improved on their game. And I could see a lot of them like even back in the UFC. But Goldberg, like he made it, like here we go, and it is all over. It's like
it's true.
He made the experience at home so much better than what it is now just by his announcing. And that goes to show like how much announcers can make the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Rogan's one of my white whales, man. I would love to sit in a room and just have a chat with Joe Rogan.
Man, I know. Well, I'm kind of anticipating that after this, he'll probably be calling me, right?
Oh, we can only hope, right?
Hey, I'll tell him where I know. I'll be thanking you guys. That probably won't happen.
Yeah, Rogan has been known to call people and ask them to be on the Joe Rogan Experience after they're on this show, but he doesn't offer the same type of things that we do. So a lot of people just deny him. They'd rather be on this one.
Yeah,
we don't want to get a big head, do we?
No.
We
keep it humble.
Yeah, we have to. Oh, yeah, that's funny, man. So who's I got to bring this up because I know you're going to have George Bruno on next week, right?
Yeah, Saturday.
Did you see his interview with Jennifer Molesky?
Yes.
Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah, and that brings a whole different thing into George's arena. George is, I think we said it yesterday, just a man of many hats. You know what I mean? But to hear like a woman's side of it, like, yeah, it just blows my mind. And George is one of those, when I think of George, he's just so well-rounded, but very big on like masculinity and keeping men masculine. and just to hear, yeah, that was every interview I've ever seen him on has just gone epically.
He certainly has a way about him. I started after her interview. I started watching her videos, and I couldn't stop watching them. She's so funny. She's a riot.
What is that? What's that thing that George goes to every year in Poland?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a little uncertain about that.
Something. I watched one of his speeches, and he did a presentation on how a man should stand, like standing up, shoulders back. That guy could talk me into doing anything, man. It's just, it's going to be a good interview. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. You are in good. You are exactly where you belong, Greg, in the caliber of men that we're talking about. You know what I mean? And I know Tyson. I feel pretty confident about speaking for Tyson on most things. But I know we're very grateful for just to have a chance to sit down. You know, I like many other times when I shoot out a DM on IG, it's usually just me expecting, we can't make it. But I think the relationship that we've built, the three of us, I hope we have a lot more stuff in store down the road. You know what I mean? Because we're all in the same universe, the YouTube universe. So why not? You know?
Yeah. I'm open to you guys anytime. I mean, you can hit me up anytime you like, and we really
just want to be the guest. We want to be the guests on your first live stream on your channel.
That's something. I'll have to figure that out. See, since I've never done a live stream, I'm really gonna have to, I guess, sit down and think about that, like how I would do it, like what I would talk about, because my assumption is that when I hit the button to go live, there'd be nobody there. I'd feel kind of stupid, but I'm sure that's what every YouTuber probably experiences or thinks that's going to happen, right?
Every time
if you ever go live on Instagram, welcome to the first whole minute where you're just sitting there, because it's like it sends you live for like 30 seconds before anybody even like starts coming into the room. So you're just kind of sitting there like waiting on the notification to go out that, you know, people like YouTube, you can really like. You can promote it up early and people can be in the room waiting when you go live. So you don't run across that as much. But on Instagram, you hit that go live button and it's like, okay, we're going to send it out to people that follow you. And it literally is like 30 seconds before anybody starts coming in. Then it could be like one person comes in or two people. And sometimes it's 50 or 60. It just depends on the time of day and who sees the notification when they're available, you know.
It's good to know what to expect. Yeah.
All right, we're going to start wrapping this up because I have another live stream in 30 minutes. Oh, you got one last thing?
I have one last thing.
Okay.
Carrie from Defined Beard is in here. And he says, don't tell KC Dave to hit you up anytime. He won't leave you alone. I'm just going to leave that one in the air. That's it. Great comment.
Yeah, I made that mistake 7 months ago, and not very many days passed where I don't get a phone call from Dave, and then if you don't answer a text, like, why didn't you answer my call?
That's right.
And there goes my stuff. Bye-bye again. Hey, Muhammad, I need my $10 again to come back on. I'm just kidding. I think it's time to swap cameras for the next live stream.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, there was a couple that came in late. Greg has a YouTube channel on not only men's. That's an interesting picture, Tyson. You're green. There you are. Not only men's grooming products, beard stuff, beard trims, all that good stuff, but just great life lessons, like a great insight on how Greg sees things. Very, very great information, and an excellent pianist, I might add.
Oh, thank you, David. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to do more of that, but time and privacy is a real issue. That's the only reason I don't put out more videos. Well, your words have been really kind today, and I do appreciate your hospitality. It's been a real pleasure being on here.
I just love talking to people, and you know, like your channel. Like I love talking to people and getting to know who's behind things. Your channel is one that I came across when I first started my beard journey. One of the first ones. And so I've always held you up here with the beard reviewers of like, this is 16,000 subscribers. He's a big YouTuber. And, so I've always held you up there as one of the higher ranked people in my mind, and so it's nice to actually get to like sit down, have a conversation, get to know who's behind the camera, who's, more about you as a person and the things that you really enjoy. So that's the biggest thing that I love about these things. And for the audience to kind of get some exposure to you as a person. Like, what are these people doing calling me when I'm on a live stream? Jeez Louise. But
well, yeah, it's been fun for me, definitely. A real experience, and I was looking forward to this. When you told me, when I saw that Eric Banholtz was on one week, and then Spence was on the next, and I know you have George Bruno on the following one after me, I was like, I'm in the hall of greatness here. But I know it's just happenstance. I'm going to tell myself that I'm somebody important now.
Maybe it was all meditated. Maybe it was all pre-planned.
Maybe. Hey, yeah. But I mean,
no, go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything. Tyson, go ahead.
We had to get, Banholes and Spence on before we could feel comfortable asking you.
Absolutely.
I know better than that.
All right, let's wrap this up here so I can take a break a little bit here before the next live stream. And then, we'll have another live stream. So anybody watching, in a half an hour, we go on live again. But Greg, I just want to thank you for joining in here with us. It's an honor to get to talk to you and know more about you, and to let these guys see and you to do your first live stream. Hopefully that kind of generates something with you of you can go live and hit people as well as making videos and stuff. So hopefully we'll see you more on the live side of things, and appreciate you making time out of your Sunday to come and join us to do this.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you asking me, and I just want to say thank you to all those who are watching and who've made your comments. I haven't been able to look at them, but I do appreciate it, and thanks for supporting not only me but these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later. And Greg, you don't have to close out. After it goes off the air, we'll still be here. So, all right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining in the comments. We'll see you guys in a half an hour.